Spotify just revealed how they run AI agents across a backend with more than 20 million lines of code. 73% of their pull requests are now AI authored. They ship to production around 4,500 times a day. And one of their most senior engineers, with 30 years of experience, threw out his code editor in 2 months. This isn't a hype reel, it's a working system, explained by the people who actually built it. Spotify's VP of engineering and the creator of Claude Code himself. I broke it down into 7 moves you can steal, whether you're a solo developer or you run an entire engineering org. Let's get into it.
2 months seemed extreme, and then 2 months later I found myself not using an ID anymore, and like the way that I was working had completely changed. It changed that I had not seen in the 30 years that I've been doing this.
That was Niklas Gustavsson, a VP of engineering at Spotify, being interviewed by Boris Cherny, the creator of Claude Code at Anthropic. So nearly everything you'll hear comes straight from the source. Move number 1. Stop treating your code base as 1,000 separate chores. 5 or 6 years ago, Spotify's code was growing 7 times faster than they could hire engineers. So they drowned in maintenance, upgrading a Java version, swapping one API for another. The same dull migration done by hand, by hundreds of teams across thousands of repositories. Each one took months. They could finish maybe 10 a year. So instead of emailing every team a tutorial, they built infrastructure to make a single change across the entire code base at once. They call it fleet management. Move number 2. Know exactly where automation breaks. At first, they did these mass changes with deterministic scripts. Find this pattern, replace it with that one, and they merged millions of pull requests that way. But they hit a hard ceiling. As Niklas says, code has an enormous API surface. The moment a method can be called 5 different ways, your tidy little script explodes into thousands of lines chasing every edge case. That's the wall. And that's exactly where large language models stopped being a toy and became the answer. Their first attempts failed. They just dumped the code in front of the model and hoped. But as the models improved, a real system started to emerge.
Stories that our backend monorepo is more than 20 million lines of code. But turns out Claude works amazingly well in those repositories, and I think...
Move number 3. Give your agents a real home in production. That system is called Honk, and architecturally it's surprisingly simple. The Claude Agent SDK, running inside a Kubernetes pod. What makes it powerful is the tools you hand it. The most important one, the agent can run real CI builds on both Linux and macOS, so it can verify its own work. That includes building and testing iOS apps in a simulator and even turning Figma designs into working interfaces. In the latest version, engineers can plug in their own tools, and what began as a migration bot is now something everyone uses. You can just mention it in Slack and hand it a task. Move number 4 is subtle but huge. Use scaffolding, then have the courage to delete it. Early on, the Honk agent wasn't reliable enough on its own. So they added an LLM-as-a-judge, a second model whose only job was to check the work. That one change took their success rate from roughly 20 or 30% up to 80%. But here's the twist. Once Opus 4 and 5 arrived, they removed the judge entirely. The models had simply gotten good enough. The lesson? The scaffolding that saves you today can be dead weight tomorrow. Build it, lean on it, and let it go when the models catch up. Quick, honest interruption. Around 90% of you watching this right now haven't subscribed. If you're getting value out of this breakdown, just tap the subscribe button. I turn the best AI engineering talks into playbooks you can actually use. Okay, back to it.
It just needs to do a lot of work without a human in the loop.
Yes.
It's just the single most important thing.
Yeah.
And I feel like one of the common mistakes I see is companies underinvest in how well that verification loop works.
I think
that clip from Boris is move number 5. And it's the one almost everyone underinvests in. verification. When you let an agent run on its own, without a human watching every step, the quality of your verification loop is the entire game. Think about what Spotify actually committed to here. They auto-merge most of these AI changes without a human ever laying eyes on the pull request. You cannot do that on Hope. So they had to dramatically strengthen their test automation so that their software could survive a constant stream of automated changes. The takeaway is blunt. Your agents are only ever as good as your ability to automatically check them.
And this is just another example of how in engineering, productivity is always about investing in infrastructure. It's not about working more hours. It's about just making the infrastructure better and better.
Yep.
And that sounds.
Move number 6 flows right out of that. Speed and quality are not a trade off. Most teams believe you can either move fast or be reliable. Pick one. Boris calls that a false dichotomy, and Spotify is the living proof. The way you actually go faster is by encoding your quality practices so a machine can run them. Bake them into a skill, a Claude.md file, a set of tools, instead of leaving them in some senior engineer's head. The result? They keep their quality metrics flat while massively increasing their speed. 4,500 production deploys a day without lowering the bar.
Clear signals in that space. We're seeing a 75% plus improvement in PR frequency, for example, that we can directly attribute to AI tooling. And I think by now 73-ish% of PRs are directly attributed to being AI authored.
Those numbers are move number 7 in action. Standardize relentlessly. 75% more pull requests, 73% of them AI authored across an org of around 2,900 engineers. So what's Niklas' top advice to other leaders? Not a fancy model or a secret prompt, just consistency. Spotify spent years standardizing their tools, frameworks, and code style, originally to help humans. It turned out to be rocket fuel for agents. Because if your code is written 10 different ways, Claude gets confused. The more consistent your code base, the better your agents perform. Boring consistency is a competitive advantage now.
Or I can jump into code bases that would have taken me days or weeks to get into before, and be contributing things that I just could not do before. So for me, that.
Which brings us to the part that matters most if you write code for a living. Niklas spent 30 years loving the craft of solving problems by hand, and he worried he'd miss it. Instead, he found the opposite. What he loves is solving problems, and the way he solves them turned out not to be the point. He can now jump into code bases that used to take weeks and ship things he simply couldn't before. And it's not just engineers. Spotify built an internal app store for prototypes, where anyone can describe an idea in plain English and have Claude build a working version in an hour or two. People up to one of their co-CEOs have prototypes in there. An idea you can test in a day instead of waiting months. So there's the playbook. Treat your code base as one surface. Know where scripts break. Give agents a home in production. Use scaffolding, then delete it. Obsess over verification. Stop trading speed for quality. And standardize everything. 7 moves from a company doing this at a scale almost no one else has reached. If this was valuable, subscribe. It genuinely helps. And if you're just getting started, I've made a beginner's guide to Claude Code that gets you productive fast, plus a Claude certified architect prep kit with a full mock exam to prove your skills. Both are linked in the description. Follow me on Instagram and Facebook too. I'm Hyperautomation Labs, and I'll see you in the next one.